But then you have a new project coming out, which being a 90s kid, I see I see Drop. I think Operation Dumbo Drop. And the first thought I had was, are they remaking this movie? And I just didn't know about it. And then I saw, it's Christmas Drop. Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, no, it's a totally different movie. Now,
was that Bill Murray as well?
No, that one was with Ray Liotta, Dennis Leary, Danny Glover, Dougie Doug. Yeah. Anyway, wow, it's weird that I remember all that, but still.
I'm definitely watching that later this week.
Welcome, everybody, to Casting for Two, the podcast, as always, hosted by me, Chris. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 402. 402. Great episode for you all today. But, of course, I haven't done this in a while. If you want to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, at Casting for Two, go do that. I am also, I don't know if I've ever talked about this on the podcast. I also do some of that Twitch streaming. I try to do at least a couple of streams a week, and that is twitch.tv/Mr. CMH93 MRCMH93. If you want to follow me there and join me on my video game hijinks with my friends, you're welcome to do so. And, of course, continuing the podcast message, wear a mask. If you're going to go out, wear a mask. COVID numbers are unfortunately going up, which, was predicted to happen. So wear a mask and be courteous to others around you. Treat everyone with respect. And just love each other, Just love each other. But you know what? I should talk about my guest for today. My guest is a very talented actor who can be seen in the Netflix movie Operation Christmas Drop. It's out right now, so if you want to go watch it, I think you should, because this man is phenomenal and had such a wonderful time chatting with him. Xavi de Guzman is on the podcast, and such a pleasure to get to talk to somebody who has a different, I know we all have different perspectives on things, but this one was a bit more special for me to talk with Xavi, and you know what, we'll get into it. All right, so let's start this episode. Sit back, relax, and Xavi, take it away. How are you doing this fine morning? Wait, you're in Toronto, right?
Currently in Vancouver.
Vancouver, okay. Well, it's still morning for you. Okay.
Yeah. Where are you?
I am in San Antonio, Texas.
Ah, beautiful. Yeah. I'm out in Vancouver. We're filming a new show.
Nice.
Yeah.
When, because you're from Toronto, right?
Yep.
How long ago did you go out? Do you live in Vancouver now, or is it just like, oh, I go out there when, work is happening? And of course, this isn't during, the pandemic time, but, normal time.
Yeah. Originally from Toronto, and then I moved out here for filming, and then kind of just decided to stay.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry, go on.
Oh no, it's a beautiful city, so it kind of stole my heart.
It's funny how Vancouver will do that to you. I went to school in Victoria, which is just on the Vancouver Islands, and it was just like I fell in love with it.
Yeah. Oh wow, sweet. What did you take?
I studied film.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, and a lot of my friends, ended up um, after film school going to Vancouver, and some of them are working, and some of them are
So
doing
you
different
went
things.
to Victoria from being from the States for film?
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. So so originally I'm from Oregon, and Oregon is
Okay,
just it's right there practically.
like 6 hours. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and I was this was a while ago, so I was looking at alternatives. Of course, the idea of going to New York and LA were there, but I was just kind of trying to think practically and just think, I have to support myself. I
Mhm.
wanted to be in a different area than what I'm used to. And
Yeah.
also, I had heard like Kevin Smith went to Canada, and a lot of directors went to Canada to learn. And I was just
Yeah.
like, you know what? Why not? And honestly, when we were doing like film school scouting, like
Yeah.
that that was it. That's all I needed, because I just fell in love with Victoria. So
Sweet. Oh yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, and yeah, and that's Canada for you. It's just like I wish I could be there right now. Take away all
Yeah.
the politics that's going on down here.
Yeah.
Legitimately, before all of this, I wish I was there. I tried so hard to get some sort of work permit, work visa, anything, and it
Yeah.
just wasn't happening. So I was just like,
Uh,
I'll slum it in the States, I guess.
fair enough.
But um, I'm curious. One of the things I've been asking people, since we're all going through this interesting situation together,
Mhm.
have you noticed that your creativity has gone up during the pandemic, or have you just decided to just focus on you, or what's been your pandemic like?
Um, it started at an all-time high,
Hmm.
like in March and April. I was making little mini self videos, like self-produced videos. I started writing a book.
Mm.
Um, like also just regurgitating ideas onto paper for different film ideas that I had. So it's like it started at this incredible peak,
Hmm.
and then like I have this talk that I give where it talks about different types of fitness. The tagline of the talk is um, you have to be in shape to chase your dreams, and how motivation, hard work, and positivity can be detrimental to your success.
Hmm.
And it revolves around the concept of rest.
Yeah.
So mentally, I'm just functioning at this pace that I've never functioned at before, just because there's no distractions. Everything's shut
Right.
down.
Right.
And then my mind just fried. And I went into this literal depression where it's like
Yeah.
I couldn't even get out of bed. So then it turned into just refocusing my attention on my mental health and bettering myself,
Hmm.
and just like, so I took that time to just completely rest. So then it turned into like a self-betterment phase. And now I'm balancing it a little better, where it's like I'm still writing this book, putting some ideas down, but I'm not going into it as much. And I'll also blame getting back onto set
Mm.
as part of that, because it's kind of like it's regrounded me. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay.
But Yeah, no, it started really well and then hit this wall or the wall hit me. And yeah, I had to reanalyze life at that moment.
I feel like that was a common occurrence for people of, yes, we get to rest, we get to do this, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then you realize all the things that you could be doing that you never could. And then sooner or later we hit this wall of just, who am I? It's just, what am
Yeah.
I doing? And for sure, I hit that wall as well. And it sucks, but at least it's just it's a much needed wake up call for yourself. And
Yeah.
I like, if anybody who hasn't hit the wall by now, like, no offense to anybody out there listening, but yeah, embrace the wall.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I think I've met some people that say they haven't hit this wall, and it's denial.
Yeah, yeah.
And because there's no way that you could have been prepared for this.
Correct.
And if you were prepared for it, there's something else going on. And like I'm an advocate for therapy and mental health and all that stuff. And it's like, if you were actually prepared for something like this, you definitely need to talk to somebody about that.
Right. And therapy was one of the things that I had been interested in, but just something that I kind of didn't think was an option for me. And then of course I hit the wall, and I was doing research on therapists, and I was like, oh no, this is actually pretty feasible for me to do.
Yeah.
And it's been wonderful. It's and again, whoever doesn't believe in therapy, give it a try. It's nice to just have
Yeah.
somebody
No,
to talk to.
it's so sad how therapy has kind of been perverted over the years.
Yeah.
And it's just never been, an option because how it was viewed, how the media portrayed it to be, how if you ever saw a scene in any film in the 90s or early 2000s when they talk about therapy, they make fun of it. And so now it's stuck in the minds of people that therapy is for crazy people.
Right.
Where therapy is an essential thing for people just to stay sane.
And I feel like, I think we're, a similar age group, but, growing up, it was never like, tell me how you feel. What is your feeling? It was just, oh, you got a problem? You keep that deep down inside you and you bury it, and you hope it doesn't bubble up until you're older, which I don't want to assume any generation or anything, but I got to assume my parents were the same. Their parents were the same. It just, it's just, yeah.
Where are your parents from?
So my parents are both from Texas, but my dad did immigrate from Mexico.
Gotcha. So like even that background itself, where it's, I find people outside of America grow up with this toughened mentality.
Correct.
Where it's like, it's even more of a thing where it's like you don't show emotion, or and it's you, like you don't do therapy, you just talk with your family type stuff, and it's more ingrained in immigrant culture, I find.
Because you're first generation, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There's this whole, and again, I can't really judge, immigrants just by my dad, because he's my dad. But I do think that there is this, you're here, and we have to work extra hard. We have to prove ourselves that we're worthy of being, wherever we came from. And of course, there's nothing wrong with that, but there's also this level of, it would be so much better if the environment we were moving into, or any, first immigrant was moving into was accepting towards them.
Yeah.
It would be such an easier transition for immigrants.
Yeah.
But
Totally agree.
anyway, but you know what? You're in Canada and it's a lot nicer up there, so
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, it's fine. But so I'm excited to chat with you for many
Yeah.
reasons. I like your, again, reading your backstory. I was like, I'm really excited to chat with him. But also, when I was living in Chicago for a brief period, everybody would just come up to me and say, oh, you're Filipino, right? And I'd be like, I mean, no, but I wouldn't get mad. I'd be like, I could see why you would,
Yeah.
mistake me
Yeah.
for Filipino.
That's funny. Yeah.
But working with a lot of Filipinos, which is probably why they assumed I was, I just had such a huge appreciation towards the culture, as well as my best friend growing up was Filipino, and of course, everyone thought he was Mexican. But I'm just curious for you, do
Yeah.
you ever does your background influence the type of projects that you do, or is it literally just like, what, I want to branch out and be more than who I am, or what I'm perceived
Um,
as, I should say?
with my background and how I look, especially, I found I've fallen into the category of what they like to call ethnically ambiguous.
Mm.
Um, my last name is Spanish,
Mm-hmm.
but because I'm not Spanish, we're going to go with the more Latin person.
Right.
You're Asian, but when we want to cast Asian, we want Chinese or Korean looking Asian. So it's like I never really found myself in that in an ethnic category.
Mm.
So with that, I even went through the phase of, man, I'm going to change my last name or something just so I can get in those rooms for white casting.
Yeah.
And it turned into just a small identity crisis. And so ultimately I kind of submitted myself to the craft and just gave in to the fact where it's like, I'm just going to try my best to be as undeniably good as I possibly can be, where they can't deny my talent.
Yeah.
So I've gotten roles that anybody could have played. So like I feel those are the big wins in terms of booking those open ethnicity calls.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the same time, my project on Take Two, my role on Take Two, my last name was Vasquez.
Mm-hmm.
But because it again picked up for a second season, like there was still discussion of, is he going to be Filipino or is he going to be Spanish?
Right.
And I was leaning towards, let's dig into a Filipino storyline. It's a Filipino last name, right? And then it's interesting too because it's like I fell into this weird category when I first started getting cast, where I always got cast as like the thug, the gangster, but I was always the racially diverse gangster. Where it's like we just need to add a little bit more color, but we don't want to go, full on just to have a black gang. Let's put this guy in there so it doesn't look like it's a black gang type thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like looking back on it, I'm like, damn, that's fucked up. But like it's an interesting topic when it's like, did it benefit me? Did it not? The mindset that I have now, I don't really go in either direction.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I've been in way too many conversations where I hear people using that as an excuse.
Right.
And it's like, I'll look at other people's work and their training and how they practice, and it's like, are you sure it's because of your race, or is it because you're not working as hard as you can? Right. So it's like, when I kind of took that mentality of, I'm just going to try my best to outwork everybody, then all of a sudden, the wheels started turning in my direction.
Okay. Yeah, it's, like yourself. I mean, I haven't done too much acting at all. And I've told this story plenty of times, but one of the few times I auditioned for something, it was for a drug dealer. And I was just like, I've never met a drug dealer in my life. I don't know how to act like a drug dealer. So this is going to be interesting. And this was a little after Pineapple Express. So I wasn't sure if they wanted like a goofy one. Because sure, I could be goofy. Why not? And then I read the sides. I was like, oh, no, they want a stereotypical badass drug dealer. And I was just like, I can't do this. So I just went in there and did my best. And, surprisingly, I didn't get the role, but I'm not upset about it.
That's funny.
But,
did you end up watching the project afterwards and seeing who did get it?
You know what? It never occurred to me to go back and watch the project. I don't even know if that project came out. I heard nothing from it. So I'm gonna after this call, I'm gonna do some Googling and find out what happened.
Nice.
But it is always that fine line of, am I being typecast because of the way I look, or should I be working hard enough? And I feel like you hit the nail on the head,
and honestly, like, within the last couple of years alone, the industry has changed in terms of, there's way more opportunity for people of color.
Correct.
So to still use that as your vice in 2020 as an artist, it's I don't know if I can agree with your sentiment,
Right. It's and it must be encouraging, obviously, you're going out for the major roles and, roles that you just want to play and believe that you can bring life to. But to another person coming in, whether they're a Filipino or, whatever descent, they'll see you and then they'll be like, I want to do that, and not even think about all the struggle that you went through to get there. So it's I don't know. It's funny to just think about that kind of trickle down effect that you're doing all the hard work for future generations.
I'm misquoting this, but it was from Chadwick Boseman, where he talks about the struggles and sacrifices that we make aren't meant for us to enjoy. It's meant for the next generation, for the people after us. So, I'm more than thrilled to be able to be part of that generation that helps pave the way for those to have it easier. Ultimately, do I want them to also go through some of the struggles that I went through so they can also, have the fortitude that I developed? Sure. But if they don't have to, great.
You don't want them to have all the easy, make it too easy. Come on, you got to still work hard. Come on, people.
It's like in Canada, they used to teach cursive writing. I hated it. I couldn't do it. And now that they're not teaching it, I'm kind of upset that these kids don't have to go through that. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like it was a terrible time. Like, I got made fun of. My teachers kept telling me I was doing it wrong. And then now these kids nowadays, they don't have to do that. They don't have to be told that they're doing it wrong. Ugh, yeah.
Well, it's the same way here. And I was talking to, a very close friend of mine who's also a teacher, and she's an acting teacher. And I was just, they don't teach them cursive. And my first thought was, well, how do they teach them how do they teach them a signature if they're not teaching them cursive? Like, what are signatures going to be in the future? Like, what? So
Interesting. I didn't even think of that.
yeah, it's what is it just going to be like gobbledygook? I don't like what it's all going to be print now. What's going on here? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, it's funny because like my signature now,
Hmm.
it's there's a star in it.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So it's like I kind of like that when I put the X and the D together,
Yeah.
it kind of makes a little figure. And then when I saw that, I was like, ooh, my signature is gonna have a star in it. Yeah.
Look, I think
That took a lot of time.
that's
That
pretty
took a lot
badass.
of time.
That's yeah. No, that's cool. If you can inject a star into anything, like more power to you.
Yeah. So it's like that's gonna be people's signatures in the future, or it's gonna be little doodles.
It's going to be an emoji. It's literally going to be emojis.
That's
My
funny.
signature
That's
is the poop
yeah.
emoji. There you go.
Nice. That's
Uh,
hilarious.
nah. Um, but I'm curious. Again, I love talking with actors because I love picking their brains. For you, playing all sorts of different roles and characters. What is your process getting into a character's headspace? And I know probably every character is different, but I'm just curious, like a general.
Um, it depends. Um, it depends on how close that character is to something that I am as well,
Mm-hmm.
and how close that character is to how I live my life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it starts with the script,
Mm-hmm.
where it's all about understanding the script and breaking down the script and picking up on clues within the writing of what my character is like. A common clue, as an example, would be if there's slang within my text. And it's like, okay, there's slang. That means that kind of determines where he kind of grew up.
Mm-hmm.
If he uses big words, for example, medical dramas and stuff,
Yeah.
where that also kind of determines, okay, so this person's educated in some way. And then in small other clues where it's like, does my guy interrupt people a lot? Does he cut people off? Does he let thoughts linger? Right. So I build a lot of the character around the dialogue just because it's an ode to the writer. You got to respect the writer,
Right.
where the character's not always going to be me. It's rarely ever me. So it's about trying my best to do justice to this character that the writer created. So after just analyzing the script over and over and over, now comes down to creating the backstory of my character, what information is necessary to make my scenes come to as much life as possible, and then just repetition. Like I used to hear it where it's like I hear actors saying it's like, oh yeah, I read the script 100 times.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to them, and it's like 100 times. That's crazy. But no, yeah, I literally have read scripts hundreds of times over and over. And it's not so much just to read it. It's I'm reading it to discover something new every time.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So it takes a lot of repetition with that.
Okay. Has there ever been a point in your career where, and either you're starting out or you've grown more confident throughout the years, where you're gonna audition for a character that you've been sent and you're just like, you know what, I'm doing the research but I'm just not getting into this character's headspace, or it's just you're not connecting with this person at all? Have you ever had anything like that happen to you?
I've had that happen, but that's where like I won't go into the room if that's how I feel.
Yeah.
But I have had points where I'm trying my best to break down a script for an audition, and it's just not happening. But then once I get a second pair of eyes on it, where I have friends that I'll go to help run auditions, and I'll ask them straight up before we even start, just like, hey, can you read this and help me figure this part out because I can't get it? And magically they'll get it. And it works vice versa. It's one of those things where it's like you need an outside pair of eyes just to help make things clear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I do always wonder about that. Just like, I'm sure, you know, getting into character, like, it's a lot to process, and, you know, it's just I don't see the big picture. And, you know, of course, it's always nice to have outside information and also just take a step back and be like, oh, okay, I got you.
Oh, yeah. No, it's like, so my role on the 100, it transforms you once you get onto set.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like you're always rediscovering a character. You're always finding something new. So as much work as you thought you put in for just the audition, once you get into makeup and wardrobe and you're on set, all of a sudden this new character emerges. It's like, wow, I didn't think about all these traits, but here they are. And then I'm just going to go with it. But it's like, and Sir Ian McKellen also talks about it as well, where when he was trying to get into his character of, who was it, Sherlock, I believe?
Oh, Sherlock, yeah.
Where it wasn't until he got the prosthetics on that he finally saw the character. So it's like you can try, and sometimes it's just not going to work until you get to the final steps of the process. And also it's about just kind of giving into the whole team effort of things. So it's like, if I don't feel like I can find this character, but I got casted in it, for some reason the director or writer or producer saw something in me that they trust for their vision. So then it's like, okay, maybe it's not so much about me personally. Maybe it's my ego just telling me I can't do this. But whatever I did, they liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy you brought up the 100, because one of my first podcast guests was Mr. Sachin, and
Sweet.
oh man, I had the best time chatting with him about the 100. Such a super cool guy, and this was maybe 6 years ago, something like that.
Oh wow.
And his, like, our when I saw the 100, my brain flashbacks to him and just having a fun chat. So
Awesome.
so, you know, anytime I get to think about him and just the 100, that's great. And also, you worked on one of my most one of the best shows that I loved watching was Man Seeking Woman.
Oh.
Just such an underrated show that, you know, I think it was 3 seasons, something like that, but it was just so full of character and just, man, anytime again I can think about that show, it's going to be a happy day. So
yeah, no, it's 100% relatable.
Yeah.
Why? Because everybody has gone through that phase of trying to look for a partner, and they just take all the little nuances and they just exaggerate it to the degree where we believe it's happening in our heads.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, no, great show.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But then you have a new project coming out, which being a 90s kid, I see Operation, I see Drop. I think Operation Dumbo Drop. And the first thought I had was, are they remaking this movie? And I just didn't know about it. And then I saw, it's Christmas Drop. Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, no, it's a totally different movie. Now,
was that Bill Murray as well?
No, that one was with Ray Liotta, Dennis Leary, Danny Glover, Dougie Doug. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
Wow,
it's a classic.
it's weird that I remember all that, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm definitely watching that later this week.
It's a classic, of course.
Yeah.
But no, was it fun working on, the 100? It's a serious show. It has its serious moments.
Yeah.
Was it fun doing just like a lighthearted Christmas, project?
Oh, goodness. It's so interesting because it's like as lighthearted as Christmas movies are.
Yeah.
This is based on the real thing.
Mm-hmm.
They run operations in the Air Force Base to do these supply drops during the holidays for these areas that aren't getting what they need, right? So it's like the fact that it's based on a true story and real events that's been happening since like the 50s, there's a lot of layers behind the lightheartedness of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's like, sure, it was very light, but at the same time, and being Filipino, a lot of people just tend to associate us with being Asian,
Mm-hmm.
but we're island people. So Samoa, Guam, Polynesia, Hawaii, like that's our people as well.
Mm-hmm.
So doing this project and being out in Guam, filming in Guam with the Chamorro people, where it was incredible. Like there's so many layers of it where it's like I'm representing these people as well.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like as an actor, as lighthearted as it seems, like as an actor, like, oh, there was so much joy that was happening inside of me.
Nice. And if there's one thing on the podcast I'm a huge fan of, it's a good audition fail story. I'm just wondering, do you have a bad audition story?
It's funny because it's like the auditions that I think went bad,
Mm-hmm.
I end up getting. Like, so there's two that come to mind. There's one that's depressing where I didn't get it, and I'm pretty sure I ruined my chances with that casting director forever.
Mm.
Sure, I'll tell you both of them. Why not?
Tell me whatever you want.
Yeah. So in this case, I adopted this thing of trying to make my audition as dynamic as possible. Mm-hmm. So what I wanted to do was I was going to start with my back to the camera, and then when they yell rolling, I was going to turn and face the camera. So I was going to turn to frame, right? That's all it was. So I'm facing the side wall, and then right before they're about to yell rolling, the casting director was like, could you already start facing the camera? And I was like, I was going to turn in. Is that okay? And then she just looked at me, and she's just like, sure.
Okay.
But it was so dry, and I was like, okay. And so I did what I wanted to do, and then after the take, she's just like, thanks.
Mm.
Right? But it's funny because other people know this casting director, and I've had experiences with her before where she's so lively, and like after I do a take, she'll be very gracious and say, thank you so much for coming in, great take. But then this time it was just like, thanks, and then never saw her again.
Oh, wow.
So that, and then my other one was for Baroness von Sketch, where I played a stripper.
Mm.
Now, I'm not the fittest guy. I'm not the tallest guy. I'm not even the best looking guy. You know what I mean?
Ah, come on.
So no, but like, so I get to the room, and then I'm on deck, and then as soon as the door opens, I see this 6-foot-tall Adonis of a guy with long hair, and he kind of just looked at me, smiling, and he's like, you got this, man, and then just walked out. And I was like, how am I going to beat that? That's your guy. I'm just going to go home. But then I went in, did the audition, and I ended up getting the part. And I was like, okay, cool. That works.
Yeah, maybe
But,
the other guy, you know, as tall and long-haired as he was, maybe he just didn't have the moves.
man, like, just the way he glided out of the room. Like, there's no doubt. He was probably a real stripper. You know what I mean? Like, I saw him walk out, and every ounce of confidence that I had walking in was gone. I was like, that's your guy. And the fact that he, like, looked at me, I'm pretty sure he winked when he said it.
Okay.
But he's like, you got this, man. And I was like, I kind of, like, fangirled for a bit. I was like, oh, get out of here. And I was just like, this guy's just so cool. This is your guy. Why am I here? And then, yeah, and I got the part.
Well, I mean, to be fair, he really did say you got this, so.
Oh, my God, right? So it was like, instantly.
He transferred all his energy to you at that moment.
I'm pretty sure I was like one of the last guys to go in. And what happened was there was an interesting moment in the audition where there's an action where the character pulls out glasses.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's like there was this one beat where I took my time. I pulled out my glasses from my pocket, which in the episode it's hanging off of my banana hammock.
Yeah.
Pull it out, put it on, continue the scene. And then after the scene, they're like, could you not do the glasses thing? And I just told them, I was like, but it's written in the script. And then they opened the script and they looked at it and they're like, oh yeah, it is. Interesting. And so now I'm like, did nobody pull out glasses? Am I the only one? So that could have been what got me the part. But like, other than that, the other guy still got it. If the other guy pulled out glasses, I'm pretty sure he would have gotten
it. They were so infatuated with the other guy that they just forgot the script. And they were just like, yeah.
Probably.
Wow. Oh. Well, there. You know what? I've worked with a limited amount of actors, and it's so funny how the one most important note I got about screenwriting is that very rarely do, and I'm not generalizing all actors, but the actors I've worked with don't look at the stage direction, and that's why I'm just always, what? Oh, okay. So yeah. I shouldn't put stuff like that in. And so, but you know what? All it takes is one person, and you are that one person.
Yeah, that's what it was. That's such an interesting concept of not following stage directions. And it's like, people heard that, yeah, and then they took it verbatim.
Yeah.
So, and there was no question about it because of who was saying it. But it's like, the stage directions are there for a reason. And that's also what helps determines character. Back to character work, taking into consideration stage directions. But then it takes a lot of thought to not do the stage directions. It should take a lot of thought to not do it. People just see it and then they dismiss it without even considering why they're dismissing it.
Right.
And it's the super common one is when the script tells you to cry. Where they see cry, they try to cry, they realize they can't do it on that part, and then they're like, oh, no, I'm not going to do it just because I can't cry. And It's like, no, there's so many other opportunities for you to, reach that point, but you didn't take the time to do it. Right? So when people say, oh, just ignore the stage directions, it's a very, what's the word, misleading acting, where it takes a lot of trying to understand it to ignore it. Don't just ignore it for the sake of ignoring it because because you've been told ignore the stage directions.
Right.
Yeah.
As somebody like you who reads the script, 100 times, I'm like, I'm 10 no offense, to any other actor, but I'm just like, I believe you more just because you read it, you read it thoroughly.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
makes sense.
It's like there's so many times where I have definitely chosen to ignore a stage direction, but I chose to do that. I didn't just ignore it.
Right. That's all good. But so for the people at home who would like to follow you online, keep up with everything that you're doing, where can they do all that?
Yeah, on Instagram, I guess is the most common thing, at X de Guz. That's the same on all the other platforms, Facebook, Twitter as well. And I also have a charity, a foundation that I started. You can follow that at Play On 2013.
Nice. Thank you so much for chatting with me. It's been a lot of fun. I normally don't do interviews this long, but honestly, like I've just enjoyed every minute of it. So I'm like, yeah, let's just keep rolling. I don't give a crap.
No, how long are they usually?
They're just like 30, 20 to 30 minutes. But honestly, yeah, like I said, I just enjoyed this chat. So I'm like, yeah, I'll hang out.
Oh, sweet. Awesome.
But yeah, Xavi, you have a wonderful rest of your day. Anytime you want to come back on the show and just talk about nothing or, I don't know, anything, I don't know, you're certainly welcome to do so. All right, man?
Awesome. Love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. But, have a good rest of your day. Stay safe and stay healthy.
You too. Have a good one.
You